Days of Our Lives. Spoilers suggest that Gwen Rizchek may have conspired with Vivian Alamain to fake Vivian's death and frame Dmitry von Leuschner for the murder. So, we were under the impression that E.J. DiMera had Vivian killed. At least that's what we were led to believe until today's episode of DOOL. Remember when Gwen reached out to Vivian and asked if she still hated the von Leuschner family? Vivian responded with a resounding, "More!" It was right before Dmitry and Leo Stark traveled to Alemania to try to prove that Dmitry is innocent of the DiMera family crypt kidnappings. Not to mention, Dmitry also wants to nail Gwen to the wall to prove that she kidnapped him and held him prisoner for well over a year. Plus, Gwen forged a Dear John letter to Leo, telling him that he had met someone else in prison, which was a lie. It broke Leo's heart and ultimately cost Dmitry the man he loves. So, happily married, Gwen and Dmitry certainly are not. In fact, Gwen has been actively seeking revenge against Dmitry since he slept with her former BFF Leo while they were married. It's not much of a stretch to wonder whether Gwen has anything to do with Vivian's death. After all, the two of them are natural-born schemers. In the April 1st episode of DOOL, EJ informed Gwen that while he had ordered the hit on Vivian, she had already passed away when his man got there. EJ wondered whether Vivian was truly gone, or if this was another one of her famous death hoaxes. Good question. She's really capable of anything. Remember, this is a woman who has buried people alive. However, EJ did mention that Dmitry was in prison. Gwen has many reasons to want Dmitry incarcerated. Of course, if Dmitry is locked up, he can't very well divorce her, and she can secure access to his sizable inheritance. Gwen never backs down when she wants something. Plus, we know that Vivian also helped Gwen frame Dmitry for those abductions, as Vivian played the role of a very convincing victim to investigators. Interestingly, Leo was with Dmitry in Alemania, on the hunt for Vivian and her manservant, Ivan Moraes, who regularly visits Stefan DiMera's grave. At the cemetery, there was someone mysteriously digging another grave, or perhaps digging up a grave around Stefan's burial ground. That said, it could be that Vivian has yet again faked her own death. We don't believe for a second that Vivian is actually dead. She knows it's only a matter of time before the ISA and the FBI realize that Vivian helped Peter Blake plan the DiMera kidnappings. Vivian making her disappearance look like a murder to frame one of her many enemies for said murder is such a Vivian thing to do. For the record, we don't believe Stefan is dead either. We know that Gwen and Vivian were working together. Plus, with Gwen as an accomplice, anything is possible. Days of Our Lives is inching towards an exciting run with EJ overjoyed when Johnny reaches out to him for help, while Maggie is also asked for some favors. The episode finds Gabby and Theo sitting down for a conversation related to business as well. On the other side in Salem, Chanel has some big questions for Paulina that she might not want to answer, and Justin has to convince Bonnie to see his point of view. Keep reading to find out what to expect in the upcoming Days of Our Lives episode. Johnny and EJ's relationship has not been the greatest on Days of Our Lives, especially with Chanel refusing to let Johnny have EJ as a part of their lives. However, since EJ helped them in the adoption hearing by destroying Sophie, even Chanel has been open to EJ's presence in their family. Spoilers for the upcoming episode suggest that EJ will be overjoyed when Johnny reaches out to him for help. This may be in regard to the demands that Kate made in front of Johnny for settling the plagiarism issue. Johnny refused to pay Kate the settlement money, leaving things tense between DiMera and Titan. So, Johnny might be reaching out to EJ for some advice, or this conversation could also be about Johnny trying to protect his family. Now that Sophia has signed herself out of Bayview, Maggie is all set to take the center stage on Days of Our Lives since her book release will bring about a lot of drama on the soap. The latest development found Kate asking for a huge plagiarism settlement to not take this case to the court, which Johnny made fun of and returned. Per the spoilers of the upcoming episode, Maggie will be asked a favor, and she has to decide if she wants to grant the wish or not. This might be in the context of Maggie's book, which was recently published and is being claimed to be a copy of Stephanie's novel. Since EJ looped and basically threatened Paulina into his sinister plans, she has been trying her hardest to keep his secrets. From lying to her husband to preventing house searches, Paulina has been doing it all when it comes to trying to protect EJ's experiments. However, it appears as if Days of Our Lives will finally find Chanel, realizing that her mom might be hiding something, and ask her questions that she might not want to answer immediately. Finally, the Days of Our Lives episode is also set to find Gabby and Theo sitting down for a serious conversation related to work, while Justin tries to convince Bonnie to think about his perspective when it comes to certain issues. The latest Days of Our Lives episode found several emotional confrontations, from Xander losing his cool with Sarah to Kristen threatening Sophia. Xander ended up finding some exciting information by the end of this conversation, which left him wondering about the possibilities that the future held. Meanwhile, Kristen's confrontation with Sophia revealed just how sinister her plans for the future were and the lines she would soon be crossing. Keep reading to find out more about what happened on Days of Our Lives. The Days of Our Lives episode found Victoria moments away from being released from the hospital when Xander and Sarah got into an argument. When Xander exclaimed about the process taking so long, Sarah went off on him by asking if it was really that hard for him to be in a room with her. Xander then shockingly replied that it was because he was attracted to her, and he thought that she had the same problem with him and could not resist him. Sarah scoffed at him, unable to believe his ego. She then reminded Xander that Gwen could not even be in the same room as Victoria. This led to him asking her if she would apply the same rules to Brady, since she was sleeping with him. Gwen went on to defend Brady as a good person and added that there was no physical relationship between him and her anyway. Xander found this news extremely pleasing. His good mood lasted until he received a call from Kate, informing him that Johnny refused to pay the plagiarism settlement amount, so they might have to take it to court. He then called an undisclosed person and ordered them to $5 million to the legitimate side of Titan Books in order to cover their tracks. EJ all but destroyed Sophia, but her biggest confrontation was yet to come on Days of Our Lives, and it was none other than Kristen. When Kristen ran into her in Salem, she started shouting at her, accusing her of making Rachel her drug mule. With every sentence, Kristen kept getting louder, and Sophia became more scared. She then went on to threaten Sophia that she'd inform the judge about these actions, at which point she started begging for mercy. Kristen then hit her final shot. She told Sophia that she had to make it up to her as she blamed Brady and Marlena for everything that had happened to Rachel, and Sophia was going to help her exact revenge. After Gwen's interaction with Leo on Days of Our Lives, she informed EJ that Dimitri was still in Alemania for investigation regarding Vivian's murder. She is overjoyed at the fact that they managed to trap him with this murder, which EJ committed, and now they will soon have access to all his money. Even though EJ claimed that Vivian got exactly what she deserved, he even went on to claim that he hadn't killed her because she'd already been dead when his people got there. EJ also gave Gwen an update regarding the medicines and that they would soon be ready to hit the markets. The episode also found EJ announcing that Stefano's will would soon be read on Days of Our Lives and revealed that he was stressed about it because his family would not be happy with this will. Fans of Days of Our Lives are buzzing about Jackie Harry's stunning transformation. The actress, who plays Paulina Price, recently opened up about getting a facelift, and the results are turning heads. But can you spot the difference? Let's dive into her glamorous new look and how she's feeling after going under the knife. Jackie Harry, the beloved star of Days of Our Lives, has undergone a deep plane facelift, and the transformation is nothing short of impressive. In a recent interview, she revealed that she had been considering the surgery for quite some time, and now she's flaunting her rejuvenated appearance. "I see me," Jackie confessed, clearly thrilled with the results. The procedure was a game-changer for the 60-year-old actress, who had been dealing with sagging skin and neck tissues after losing 50 pounds, thanks to GLP-1 medication. But is the change obvious to her fans? That's for you to judge. In her interview, Jackie admitted that she found inspiration from other famous faces who have undergone similar procedures. She mentioned admiring celebrities like Ricki Lake, Kris Jenner, and Jane Fonda for their post-facelift looks. Now, Jackie feels more confident and at ease in her own skin. "It's like a whole new world for me," she gushed. Before the facelift, Jackie said she would never leave the house without makeup, but now she's walking out the door with confidence, ready to face the world as her refreshed self. "I'm totally satisfied," she added. Who wouldn't be with results like that? Though Jackie is thrilled with her new appearance, the road to recovery hasn't been without its bumps. She admitted that while she feels more like herself, she's still dealing with some post-surgery swelling and pain. But with time, she's confident she'll be even more fabulous than ever. She also shared that she's no longer on the GLP-1 medication and doesn't plan to use it again. With a revived look and boosted self-esteem, Jackie Harry is ready to conquer Hollywood once again. As for her role on Days of Our Lives, fans can expect her to continue playing the sharp, sassy Paulina Price. What's next for Paulina and her family? We'll have to tune in to see. But Soap Opera Daily will keep passing on all the updates as they surface. Here's what's coming up on Days of Our Lives for Friday, April 3rd, 26. Fans can expect Belle to be hurt when Sean turns down her offer, and more. Read on. Let Soap Opera News break it down for you. Sean is recovering after getting shot in a shootout, and he has some big decisions to make. Of course, Belle wants to be there for him. After all, he is the father of their child, and it makes sense that she would want to help him through his recovery. But Jada also wants Sean to move in, which puts him in a tough spot. He may already be leaning in one direction. Spoilers suggest that Belle is hurt when Sean turns down her offer, so that says a lot about where his head is at right now. Elsewhere, Steve has an apology to offer, and Jeremy is on the receiving end. Jeremy has been hearing a lot of apologies lately after it came out that he had nothing to do with stalking Stephanie or kidnapping her, as many believed. Steve knows he was wrong, and he owns up to it. But that is not all Steve is dealing with. He also comes face-to-face with Owen, and he will not be the only one. Stephanie finally confronts Owen after being rescued, and she is bound to have a lot to say. After everything he put her through, it is not going to be a calm conversation. She is still trying to recover from that nightmare, and it is clear the road ahead will not be easy. Days spoilers for April 3rd also reveal that Julie encourages JJ to seek help. JJ recently quit his job at the Salem PD because he feels like he cannot handle it anymore. He is carrying a lot of guilt and blames himself for Sean getting shot. Julie understands where he is coming from, but she also believes he needs support and cannot deal with this on his own. Meanwhile, Leo pours his heartbreak into his writing. After everything that happened with Javi, he has plenty to process. As a writer by profession, putting his feelings on the page may be the only way he knows how to deal with it right now. That's all for Days of Our Lives spoilers for April 3rd, 2026. Which storyline are you most excited for? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to check out the DOOL spoilers for even more drama coming to Peacock. Ryan Gosling can seem to do no wrong these days, having the time of his life as a mega movie star while also making the rounds on TV as a fan-favorite host on Saturday Night Live, despite being most infamous for breaking character in a good chunk of his sketches. The Project Hail Mary star received an unexpected invitation from Days of Our Lives star Deidre Hall to visit her on set after appearing on Josh Horowitz's Happy Sad Confused podcast, revealing she was one of his original acting inspirations. Hall shared a response on Instagram, saying Gosling's episodes were played on set and "We're thrilled to be acknowledged and to be so well spoken of," and invited the three-time Oscar nominee to come over and see what we do in our neck of the woods. Gosling responded, "Deidre Hall, are you kidding me? Yes! This is a very enthusiastic yes to a very cordial invitation to visit you on set. I will be there to thank you in person for being my OG acting inspiration. It wasn't Marlon Brando in On the Waterfront. It wasn't De Niro in Taxi Driver. It was you. And I want to thank you for your offer, anytime, anywhere. You tell me, I'll be there. And I also want to thank Josh Horowitz for making this happen in some way." Surprisingly, Gosling has never appeared in soap operas, as he got his start in the mid-90s YA horror shows like Are You Afraid of the Dark? And Goosebumps, being a staple on syndicated TV shows, and his film breakout role in the 2000s. Remember the Titans, not looking back ever since. Hall, who's been active for over 55 years, also had one of her earliest roles in horror in the Rod Serling-created series Night Gallery in 1971, before landing her signature role as Dr. Marlena Evans on the long-running NBC soap in 1975 for over 5,000 episodes. Hall was already gaining notoriety on TV with appearances on Adam 12, The Streets of San Francisco, Emergency, Columbo, Kung Fu, Karen, SWAT, and The Young and the Restless. Even during her ongoing run on Days, Hall found other projects with notable roles on the superhero series Electra Woman and Dina Girl, NBC family drama, Our House, CBS's crime drama series, Wise Guy, the Peacock spin-off, Days of Our Lives Beyond Salem, and, most recently, the HBO Max series Hacks, playing herself. Days of Our Lives spoilers photos for the April 3rd, 2026 episode tease a traumatized Stephanie facing Owen for the first time. While Stephanie faces Owen, JJ faces another moment that could make or break his career, while Days of Our Lives. Spoilers for April 3rd tease that Sean is about to break Belle's heart. JJ will confide in Julie about what happened with Sean. Who will JJ be left calling? Jeremy shares a nice moment with Julie. Alex and Kayla comfort Stephanie before she sees Owen. Steve and Jada make sure Stephanie is up for this meeting. Jada brings Owen in. Owen taunts a traumatized Stephanie. When Belle heard that Sean had been shot, she was worried for her ex-husband. When she found out he needed a place to recover, she naturally assumed he'd want her to be there to take care of him. Sean, however, has other plans. Steve was sure Jeremy was stalking Stephanie, and he was equally sure that Jeremy had kidnapped his little sweetness. Turns out he was wrong. Oops, at least Steve is a big enough man to admit when he was wrong and apologize. Stephanie, for her part, has already apologized to Jeremy, and now she's ready to attack the man truly responsible. Owen doesn't know what he's got coming his way. But how will Alex react to Stephanie's decision? While Sean recuperates from his gunshot wound, JJ tries to recover from his responsibility for the assault. He froze and allowed Sean to get shot. JJ turned in his badge and his gun and doesn't want to be a cop ever again. Julie thinks he should maybe talk to someone about that. If only they knew a psychiatrist. It's not enough that Leo lays his troubles on every single person unfortunate enough to cross his path. Now he thinks those who read the Salem Spectator need to hear about them too. Stay tuned, gentle readers. This is very much an appreciation post for Days of Our Lives' Michael Rourke, whose character's motives have been shrouded in darkness since his return to Salem. The town thought Jeremy Horton hadn't changed. He was still the abuser he was during his last stint on the show. In March, Jeremy got something he hadn't experienced in a while. Validation. Stephanie was right to be wary of Jeremy Horton when he returned to town. She didn't know who he had become. It had been years since they were in a relationship. And then suddenly, he shows up back in Salem. He lives at the Horton house, and he teaches kids. And he says he changed. But why would anyone believe him just because he said so? So he became the perfect stooge for Owen, who framed him, turning him into Stephanie's stalker. And it didn't matter how many times Jeremy denied the accusation that he was out to hurt Stephanie and Alex. Eventually, Jeremy realized he couldn't fight the mob mentality anymore. Julie was his only ally, and he couldn't create any sort of life for himself in Salem. So he decided to leave town, but he got lucky and followed Owen to where he was holding Stephanie hostage. And that's where she learned that Owen was the stalker, and Jeremy was innocent. Ever since their rescue, everybody has been lining up to apologize to Jeremy. He still remains a bit of a mystery, but he wasn't the stalker. And now he and Stephanie have bonded over their ordeal, and he's figuring out what to do next. While he does that, he will stick around Salem, at least for a little while longer. It must have been a challenge for Rourke to embody a character whose intentions were hidden for so long. In March, Rourke played a character eager to get to the truth. He wanted to prove his innocence. For Rourke, it must have been a freeing experience. In the wake of the rescue, Rourke didn't infuse his character's redemption and validation with an ounce of entitlement. Jeremy took a more humble approach and played down the apologies. He said he understood why they felt the way they felt. He knows the man he used to be, and being seen as someone who did the work and moved on would probably be hard for him. Rourke's scenes with Abigail Klein were particularly fascinating. In those hostage scenes, they quickly connected and relied on each other to keep their spirits lifted and to physically get themselves free. And their connection was apparent when he visited her in the hospital room afterward. And then, in the Tuesday, March 31st episode, the leather jacket-wearing Rourke excelled in his scenes with Ramses Owen. Their back-and-forth banter was perfect, and then Rourke let loose with his character's pent-up anger. They were fun to watch. The latest episode of Days of Our Lives sets the stage for a mix of personal conflicts and unexpected reversals. Characters who seemed confident in their choices begin to second-guess themselves, while others struggle to keep important truths hidden. As the story unfolds, shifting dynamics begin to take shape across Salem. Johnny initially made it clear that he did not need his father's help. He insisted he could manage his own issues and stand on his own without relying on EJ. That confidence, however, does not last long. Everything changes when Kate reveals that Bonnie's book closely mirrors Stephanie's work, opening the door to a possible lawsuit. The news unsettles Johnny, and his earlier independence quickly fades. Faced with a situation he cannot easily control, he rushes back to EJ for assistance. EJ, for his part, is more than willing to step in. While Johnny seeks support, Justin approaches the issue from a professional standpoint, aiming to handle matters carefully. Bonnie, on the other hand, reacts far more emotionally, showing little interest in keeping things calm. Chanel questions Paulina's unusual behavior. Elsewhere, Chanel begins to notice that something is not quite right with Paulina. Taking a moment to reflect, she starts asking questions about her mother's recent actions. Paulina, however, is not in a position to reveal the full truth. She cannot share the secret involving Abe's late wife and Theo's mother being kept alive in an unusual condition. Instead, she offers a simpler explanation, admitting that she has a lot weighing on her mind. Even with that response, the situation leaves room for doubt. Chanel senses there is more beneath the surface, and the lack of clarity only adds to the tension. Professional lines blur for Gabby and Theo. Gabby finds herself adjusting to a situation she did not expect. She had been promised a position that ultimately went to Theo. Although she was initially upset, the two have moved past the disagreement. Now they are expected to work together, with Theo in charge, and Gabby focusing on her own brand. For Gabby, the arrangement is strictly about business. Theo, however, they may not see it the same way, hinting at a more complicated dynamic developing between them. Philip seeks help despite past strain. Meanwhile, Philip has his own concerns to deal with. He turns to Maggie, asking for assistance at a time when their relationship is not exactly on solid ground.